Wait till you see how easy it is to make this dress. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful dress. This dress was inspired by Prudent. If you'd love to know how to go about the making of this, stick with me to the end of this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, do well to hit on your subscribe button and turn on your post notifications so you always get notified whenever I post a new tutorial. Without further ado, let's dive right into this. To recreate this dress, you'll be needing two different fabrics of your choice. With me here, I have these crepe fabrics, and the pink one is what I'll be using for the main body of the dress. What I have here is 3 yards, and this fabric has little to no stretch. I'll be using the blue fabric for the designs on the dress and for the collar, and what I have here is just 1 yard. I'll be drafting this out on a pattern paper so everyone can follow along. So I've gone ahead to draw out my lines here. This right here is my shoulder line. This is the bust point line, and this is the waistline. On this shoulder line, mark 3 inches for your neck width. This is a standard measurement, okay? We will not be drawing out the neckline now. Also on the shoulder line, mark half of your shoulder measurement. And from that point, you're going to come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope. Connect from that point into the neck width. From the shoulder slope, you're going to mark down your chest line measurement. Mine is 8.25 inch. If you don't know how to get your chest line measurement, I'll leave the formula somewhere on the screen so you can easily calculate yours, okay? So I'll just label this the chest line. Also on this chest line, mark half of your shoulder measurement. This is to enable you to get a straight line into the shoulder slope. For the dart, you are going to mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the bust point and also on the waistline. Go ahead and connect these two lines together. On the waistline, you are going to come out on both sides of this line by 0.5 inch, and you'll be connecting it back into the bust point. Divide what you have there from the shoulder slope to the chest line by 2. Mark the midpoint, and using your curve, you'll be connecting this into the bust point. Now we'll be taking out that around that area to give it a better fitting. So go up by 0.5 inch from that point and also come down by 0.5 inch. You'll be connecting this new point back into the bust point just like this. Make sure that when you are doing this, on this side you extend the line outwards. Now we'll be replacing this dart which you have here. Take what you have in between your darts there, which is 1 inch, and you'll be replacing it on this line here. This is why we extended this line. I'll just be using my marker to outline our major lines. Now we'll be taking out our round body measurement. On the chest line, mark quarter of your bust measurement, which is your bust divided by 4. Take what you have there in between your darts and replace it. For me, it is 0.5 inch, and add your stitching allowance. I'll be using a stitching allowance of 1.25 inch. On the bust point, mark quarter of your bust measurement. We don't have any darts to replace there, so go ahead and just add your stitching allowance. On the waistline, mark quarter of your waist measurement. Take what you have in between your darts. Mine is 1 inch. Replace it there and add your stitching allowance. Now that you are done with that, go ahead and connect all these points together like I'm doing here. Now the shoulder to waist in front is longer than that of the back because of the presence of the bust in front. To eliminate this difference and make it equal when you are joining the front and the back together, we'll be taking out a bust dart. So to do that, from the bust line on this side, you're going to come down by 1.5 inch. This is a standard measurement, and you'll be connecting this back into the bust point like this. We'll be shading this part here because we'll be taking it out. For the neckline, you are going to mark 3.5 inches for your neck width, and you'll be coming down by 2.5 inch for your neck depth. Go ahead and connect these 2 points together with a curve. This right here is your front neckline. Now for that keyhole design around the shoulder, what you're going to do is to divide what you have on your shoulder slope by 2. So I'm just going to place my tape there, and I'm going to fold it into 2. Mark the midpoint, and you'll be connecting what you have from here into the bust point with a straight line. For the depth of the keyhole design, come down from the shoulder slope by 4.5 inch and mark it there. You can see how mine came out. If you want yours to be deeper, all you need to do is to add extra inches to that, okay? Now come out on both sides of this line by 1 inch. You'll be connecting this with a curve back into that point just like I'm doing here. Can you see that? I just decided to curve this in more to my satisfaction, so you can go ahead and leave yours like that. I just wanted to curve this in more. Okay, so because I did this, I'm just going to kind of cancel the old line here and extend the main line I'm using now. From this line here, you're going to mark 1 inch. Also go out by 1 inch on this other side here. To connect this back into the depth, you're going to come down from this point here by 0.5 inch. And go ahead and connect this together with your curve. Can you see we've created that keyhole design we have around the shoulder? This is pretty easy, right? I'll just be connecting all the other points together. And that is it for the front pattern. Now go ahead and cut this out just like you see me doing here. Coming to this bust dart, you're going to slash it through the bust points and you'll just be covering up the dart and tape it down. You might notice that there's a difference between the lines, or it might no longer be joining, so just go ahead and align it like I'm doing here. I decided to curve this out a little bit more, so you can see how I'm placing my tape there to do that. So now I'm satisfied with what I have here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this inner one first. And I'm going to cut out this other one here. So you can see what we have here. You'll be using this to cut out the different color that gave the special design on this dress. Now let's quickly go ahead and draft out the back pattern. For the back pattern, I already have my lines here. First here, I have my zipper allowance. For the zipper allowance, I used 1.25 inch and I ruled a straight line across. I've drawn out my shoulder line, my chest line and my waistline. And do not forget that the waistline at the back is 1.5 inch shorter than the waistline in front. Whatever you use for your waistline in front, make sure that you take out 1.5 inch and that is what you are going to use. I've marked half of my shoulder measurement on the shoulder line and I've gotten my shoulder slope just like we did in front. So on the chest line now, you're also going to mark half of your shoulder measurement. This is to enable you to get a straight line to the shoulder slope just like we did in front. For the dart, you're going to mark half of your nipple to nipple measurement on the waistline and on the chest line. Connect these together with a straight line. Come out on both sides of this dart on the waistline by 0.5 inch and connect it back into the chest line. Divide what you have there on the shoulder slope to the chest line by 2. Mark the midpoint, and from that point you are going to go in by 0.5 inch. On the chest line, you'll be marking quarter of your bust measurement. Now go ahead and connect all these points together like I'm doing to get your armhole curve. On the chest line, we already have quarter of our bust measurement, right? What you'll be doing now is to add your stitching allowance. Coming to the waistline, you are going to mark quarter of your waist measurement, replace what you have in between your darts and add your stitching allowance. Now go ahead and connect all those points together to get the shape of your bodice. Make sure that you extend the waistline into the zipper allowance, and we'll be using this for zipper tightening. From this point, you're going to go in by 0.5 inch, and from this point after the zipper allowance, you're going to mark in 0.5 inch. To connect this back, we need to draw out the neckline. So for the neckline, you're going to mark 3.5 inch on the shoulder line for your neck width. And for the depth of the neckline, you're going to be marking 10 inches. You saw how mine came out, so you can decide how many inches you want to use. Go ahead and connect these 2 points together. Make sure to extend this into the zipper allowance. So from this point, you're going to connect it to what you marked there on the waistline and also do the same thing on this other side here. And that is it for the back piece. This right here is my zipper allowance. I'll go ahead and cut this out now. Now let's quickly use these pattern papers to cut out our fabric before we proceed to cut out the lower part of this dress. So to this center front here, I'm going to make sure to add 0.5 inch stitching allowance all the way around. To the side front, I'll be adding 0.5 inch stitching allowance all the way around, aside from the armhole and to the side. To the back piece, I'll be adding 0.5 inch stitching allowance all the way around, aside from the zipper allowance, the side and the armhole. You'll be cutting out this little piece on the other fabric. Make sure that you cut out 2 pieces for this for both sides of the shoulder, and you add 0.5-inch stitching allowance all the way around, just like I'm doing here. And that is all for the upper part of this dress. We are going to proceed to draft out the lower part of this dress. This is pretty easy. I have my pattern paper here, and I'll be cutting out both the front and the back parts together. You can see here that I have gone ahead to fold in this other side, which is going to be for the zipper side. I've already drawn out my starting line here, and this starting line is also going to serve as the waistline. From the waistline, you're going to mark down your waist to your hip measurement. Mine is 8.5 inch. I'll just mark this on both sides and connect with a straight line. Next, you're going to mark your waist to hip line measurements. Mine is 24 inches. And then you're going to mark out the full length of the lower piece. I'll be using about 35.5 inch. Now note that this length is just from the waist to the full length. This is my waistline, hip line, the knee line, and the full length. On the waistline here, mark quarter of your waist measurement. Mine is 7.5. We don't need any darts here. We are just going to go ahead and add our stitching allowance. I'll be using a stitching allowance of 1.25 inch. Coming to the hip line, divide your hip measurement by 4. For me, it is 11.5. Now, because I want this to give me a very nice fitting, I'll be doing the hip allocation method here. I'll be taking out 0.5 inch from what I'm supposed to mark on the hip line. If you are quite curvy, take out 0.5 inch, but if you're not, you can go ahead and take out 1 inch. Okay, so taking out 0.5 inch from what I have, I'm going to mark 11 inches. Now note that whatever you're taking out here, we are going to be replacing it at the back. Take the full measurement of what you have here on the hip line, and you're going to be taking out 1.5 inch from that, and that is what you're going to mark on your knee line. Take out 0.5 inch from what you have on the knee line, and that is what you are going to mark on your length. Now go ahead and connect all these points together just like I'm doing here. For the dart manipulation that gave us that design in front, on the waistline here, you're going to go down by 1 inch. And from this point, you're going to mark out 1.5 inch for how wide it's going to be. Coming to this lower part here, mark 1 inch from the center front. And from that point, also mark out 1.5 inch. Now we are going to go ahead and create a curve just like the one on the dress we are recreating. So using my curve, I'm just going to try to create that curve from this point all the way to the length. So this looks like what we have on that dress. Now I just realized that instead of connecting these other 2 points together, we could just come out by 1.5 inch from the curve we already created. Since the width we are using is 1.5 inch, this is going to help to give us a more accurate curve. So what I'm doing here is just coming out by 1.5 inch from the initial curve I created, and I'll be connecting it together. So you can see what we have there, and this is way easier. Now after doing that, I'm going to open up this other side here, and I'll be ruling out my center front. I'll also be extending these other lines into the zipper side like this. Now remember that we took out 0.5 inch from the hip line in front, some of you 1 inch. What you're going to do here is to replace what you took out on the front hip line. For me, 0.5 inch. So from this point here, I'm going to mark 0.5 inch. Coming to the waistline, for a female bodice, it curves in at the back if you notice. So from this point here, you're going to go in by 0.5 inch. We will not be replacing this at all. Connect these 2 points together so you can see how that curve is there. This is what is going to help to give you a very nice fitting at the back. Now from the hip line, to connect this back into the center front, from the hip line go down by about 6 inches or 6.5 inch and connect this together like this. After doing that, you're going to mark out your zipper allowance. To mark out the zipper allowance, you're going to start from this point here on the waistline. I'm using a zipper allowance of 1.25 inch. Also on the hip line, you'll be marking your zipper allowance from this point here. So I'll continue marking that all the way to the length, and I'm going to connect it together. So you can see what we have here. Remember that we took out 0.5 inch from the front hip line, but because we are drafting out both the front and the back here, for the back I'm going to add back the 0.5 inch here and connect it back to the waistline and also to the length. Now that we are done with this, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. I'll just go ahead and label this. This is the center front, which will be attached this way. This is the side front, and this right here is the design. So go ahead and cut this out just like you see me doing here. After cutting this out, this is what you should have. We are going to cut out the back piece first, and when we are done cutting out the back piece, we'll be folding in this zipper allowance like this to cut out the front piece. So I've gone ahead to cut out my back piece, and you can see what I have here. I'm just going to fold in this zipper like this to cut out the front piece. And also on the side here, I'm going to trim off this side that I added for the back piece, okay? I'll be using this to cut out the front piece. So after cutting out the front piece, this is what I have, and I also went ahead to cut out my design. I also cut out this design for the back piece too. We'll be stopping here for this particular tutorial, and the next tutorial I'm going to be posting is going to be on how to join all these pieces together to create this beautiful dress. I hope this tutorial was really helpful. Do let me know in the comment section. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. You share this to family and friends who you think we need this. I'll see you guys in my next tutorial.